New championships could be on their way to WWE, but what are they? Who should win them? And do we even need them at this point? I'm sure you've got thoughts. So do I.
Let's talk about it.
Hey everybody, welcome to Rumble Rewind. My name is Brandon, and today we are talking about the potential of adding some new championships to the WWE. This obviously is huge news, and I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. Before we jump into it though, do me a quick favor, scroll down below the video, hit that like button, go ahead and subscribe if you are not already, and turn on those post notifications. I know you're gonna love this content, and if you do all three of those things, you'll never miss an upload. Also, it's a completely free way to help support the channel, help us grow, and get this content out in front of other wrestling fans just like you and me. All right, let's dive right into today's topic, new championships potentially coming to the WWE. Now, in a recent video, I talked about some major WWE signings that have the potential to change the landscape of the women's division in WWE. If you missed that one, check it out right here. Now, part of that video was about the potential of adding women's mid-card championships to the WWE. Now, these rumors have been swirling more and more recently, and PWN actually reported that these championships were already in the works. Now, later, Sean Ross Sapp would report that the talent that he's talked to hasn't heard about this happening just yet. That doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means it hasn't been communicated to talent yet. But either way, these rumors continue to pick up steam to the point where at least it's worth discussing the possibilities. So let's just jump right in, right? First question, do we actually need them? Does the roster in its current state support the need for what would become 8 different championship belts across all 3 of its brands? If we look at the roster, we will see that it is pretty stacked right now. And again, with the recent signings, with the addition of Julia, the addition of Delta, the addition of Stephanie Vaquer, and the re-signing of Natalya, that roster just got bigger, it just got deeper, and it just got filled with veteran talent. So for me, it looks like this could be possible. If we just look at the divisions a little bit, what it could look like, how we could sustain these, right? On Raw, we've got a pretty strong World Championship division, if you include the names of Becky Lynch winning if she comes back. But outside of that, you've got Io Sky, you've got Lyra Valkyria, who they're obviously beginning to push heavily. So she's not there yet, but I do think even if it's by way of a mid-card championship, she'll be in that upper echelon really, really soon. And obviously, you've got Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. As this story continues, that just gives the WWE more and more time to develop superstars to go up into that division. Now, a mid-card division could really help with this because there are a lot of names on the Raw roster that currently are floundering that could use some boost that a championship could bring. I think about names like Dakota Kai, Ivy Nile, Kiana James, who's been there, but what has she done? She showed up for a Money in the Bank qualifier that she lost, and she beat Natalya one time, but really that is about it. She could use a boost. Got Maxine Dupree, who's sort of been regularly improving. She could use that boost as well. I don't think she should be the first champion, but that at least gets her into some high-profile matches that will allow her to continue to improve. You've got Sonya Deville, who recently came back. Now she's leading this faction with Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, so put gold on all of them. Let her win a mid-card championship. Zoe and Shayna win the tag team titles, and let that kind of be the story that this faction is telling for a little while. You've got Zelina Vega, who definitely could use that boost. She's incredible in the ring. She could actually move very quickly into the world title contenders by way of winning a mid-card championship and having a solid run. Now, as I said in the previous video about the women's division, Roxanne Perez is somebody who I think is going to move up really, really soon. You know, if Julia comes in and takes the title off of her, it's a good time for Roxanne to transition out of NXT and onto the main roster. I think adding her to the mid-card division on Raw would round that out, and it would still allow them to keep Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler, Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, all the people that are already in tag teams, so that division didn't lose too much steam. Now looking at SmackDown, it's kind of similar. They've got a few more world title contenders, in my opinion. They've got Bayley, Nia Jax. I think that Piper Niven should be in that conversation. She put on a really, really good match at Clash at the Castle and sort of proved that she's main event caliber. You've got Tiffany Stratton, who's missed Money in the Bank, so she is going to get that championship most likely at some point. You've got Naomi, who people really, really are behind. Her character doesn't resonate with me, but it resonates with others, and she's definitely a veteran presence that can put on really solid matches. I could see her getting the mid-card title first, though, and then moving back up into that world title contention. Then you've also got Charlotte Flair, who hasn't made a return from injury yet, but when she does, obviously she's a world title contender. It's just how it is. So top of the card there, is really, really stacked, and actually could see one or two of them moving over to Raw to kind of help round out that division while they rebuild. Now, as you look at the mid-card, I could see somebody like BFAB getting in there. Again, not for the first one, but maybe just in the conversation to continue to develop, to continue to have matches that matter, continue to move her forward. Blair Davenport, she's made her debut recently, kind of floundering again. She's taken a lot of losses. That could help boost her back up into the conversation of being a legitimate competitor. Obviously, Chelsea Green, if she had the championship, and most likely that would be the Women's United States Championship, because on SmackDown, that would be amazing. I could see Chelsea Green walking around claiming to be the Canadian American champion of all of America. You know, like just her character with that would be a lot of fun. Now, she is in a tag team with Piper Niven, and that's one of the only tag teams here that I really think that we should split up, because both of those individuals I think would be better as singles competitors. Their tag team work is brilliant, don't get me wrong. I love the dynamic. They could even stay together but pursue those championships individually. You've got Michin, who's kind of had a resurgence after her time in NXT. She's been mixed up in a feud with Nia Jax, looking really, really good, connecting with the audience. She would be an incredible first women's mid-card champion, and I would love to see her get that belt, honestly. She's put in so much work that she deserves something like that. Now, as I look down at NXT, who could come up to help fill out this division, I think you got to look at names like Lash Legend and JC Jane. I think they both fit really well on NXT. They're both very good in the ring, very good on the mic. And because of the Roxanne storyline right now, they're kind of stuck, just sort of floundering on NXT and some various different storylines and things like that. Lash Legend hasn't been in a match since Battleground. And I don't know if she's injured. I don't think she is, because we haven't heard anything about it. But her story was one where she was moving forward very quickly, and now all of a sudden she's become an afterthought. That could really help reinvigorate her career and really help push her forward and make her somebody who's ready to be a main roster superstar. There's a whole lot of other women on NXT that could move up and help fill out those divisions. Obviously, we don't want to completely destroy NXT and what they've got going on, but I think that those three in particular, Roxanne, Lash Legend, JC Jane, they could move up and they could fit right in. Now, in the other video, we did talk about some potential tag teams and people that could move up to form tag teams and help continue to build the tag team division, so that would make sense as well. But for now, we're just talking about these mid-card championships, right? Now, obviously, with any good thing, you're going to have some challenges as well, especially when you're talking about introducing something like new championships into WWE. There's going to be some issues. There's going to be some drawbacks. The biggest ones for me surround TV time. First, just TV time in general. Now, if you think about it, you've got Raw and SmackDown, a total of 5 hours of TV programming. There's been rumors that SmackDown would go to 3 hours once Raw goes to Netflix. So even at that, we've got, let's say, 6 hours to work with. That's going to be very difficult to get two more championships, the right amount of TV time and the right amount of emphasis to make them look legitimate. I would hate for these championships to be introduced and automatically and forever feel like an afterthought, kind of how the women's tag team championships are right now, unless Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill are talking about them. So I'd hate for that to happen, but TV time is going to be a factor, right? Additionally, PLEs. We've kind of settled into this routine of getting these 5-match PLEs, with the exception of SummerSlam, maybe, and WrestleMania, because it's 2 nights. But with 5-match PLEs, how do we get every championship represented enough? There's already not enough matches on these PLEs to feature every championship every month, and that's okay. But adding 2 more championships into it, especially women's mid-card championships, do they ever make a PLE? Do they ever get featured in a way that makes them feel like they matter? Now, the women's tag team division is already a challenge, but as I discussed, there are some ways that they can supplement that. They can really heavily supplement it by creating some more tag teams on NXT. And because of the way the women's tag team division works, because there's only one set of belts, you don't actually have to move them to the main roster. They can stay on NXT and they can have the main roster champions come to NXT to defend those titles. That would be a great idea, because then you get more eyes on NXT who come to watch main roster superstars defend their championships. Again, that all depends on if they can make the women's championship seem valuable enough to go out of your way to watch a whole other TV show and a whole other night to see it. that's a different story. But again, just potential on how to keep that division strong while building strong mid-card divisions as well. Let's talk about the positives. What are some of the big wins that we could see if these championships get introduced? One, I think it could make title changes on weekly programming a little bit more of a regular occurrence. It could shake things up a bit. I talk a lot about looking for moments on Raw and SmackDown that are surprising, that are exciting, that are kind of edge of your seat action, and I haven't seen a lot of that lately. I actually talked quite a bit about that if you watch any of my previous videos, like this one in particular. Was really kind of a big point of that video. It could add some of that that's been missing, because all of a sudden we've got more championships, we've got a need to put them on the shows more often because there's not room for all of them on the PLEs. So we could see title changes happen on a regular basis, which I think would be awesome. It could elevate floundering talent like we've talked about. This roster is stacked. It is absolutely stacked, but there is a good bit of room at the top. Both shows could use a few more top world title contenders, especially Monday Night Raw, and this is a good way to help get some talent that's not quite there. I mean, Raw right now, as we talked about, only has about 5 or 6 world championship contenders if you count Becky, and she's not signed to the WWE right now. So you can't really count her in that. So 4 to 5 names that could logically compete for the world championship, it's just not enough. It's not quite enough. We need a few more, and this could help elevate them. All right, we've talked about the positives, the negatives, whether or not it's happening, whether or not we've needed it. We've talked about all of that, right? I feel like we've covered that really, really well. Let's have a little bit of fun with this and talk about the future. What would it look like? How would we do it? How would I book the first women's mid-card championships in the WWE? Now, I've seen some similar videos like this. They've been a lot of fun, been very different than how I would do it. In fact, I really enjoyed watching Matt over at Assemble talk about how he would do it, where he's just like, let's just do some dumb stuff. That was really well done. It was a lot of fun. I have some different ideas that here's how I would do it. It's likely if we get mid-card championships that we're going to see the Women's Intercontinental Championship on Raw, because right now they like to keep everything the same. So here's what I would do. Let's talk about the Women's Intercontinental Championship first. For me, when I look at WWE championships, the Intercontinental Championship seems to be the more classic and the more traditional championship. It's got a longer heritage, longer history in the WWE. I know the United States Championship's been around for a long time, but in the WWE, the Intercontinental Championship has this long traditional tenure. Last person who held it before Sammy was Gunther, and his whole vibe, his whole push was around the sacredness of the mat, the sacredness of the ring, and keeping things traditional and classic wrestling. So for me, I think the only way to decide the first Intercontinental Champion is through a classic tournament. Got to be a tournament. It can be big, it can be small. You can even bring in some NXT superstars as surprise entrants. I think it would be a lot of fun to see that take place over a couple of weeks and crown the first champion that way. For me personally, I think I would have it come down to Dakota Kai and Sonya Deville, and I would have Dakota win it first. I think she would be a really, really solid first Intercontinental Champion. She has put in so much work lately. She deserves some kind of push, and I think this would be a great way to do that. It would also spark a huge feud between Damage Control and Sonya Deville's faction, and I think that could really move those storylines forward really well. And I do think at some point Sonya should take it off of her, and then it can go from there. I'm not going to book past that because that's, it's a lot of hypotheticals that we're doing, but let's just continue, right? So my first WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship, I am pulling for #push King Coda, make it happen through a tournament, makes Dakota look really strong, makes Sonya look really strong to make it that deep, and then we've got our first Intercontinental Champion, and the internet would love that. All right, let's talk about the Women's United States Championship. Like I said, the United States Championship has been around for a long time in different contexts. It's been IWGP, it's been in WCW, it's been in WWE, it's been everywhere. It's got a little bit more of a chaotic history, a little more chaos surrounding it, a little less tradition, and a little more fun, right? So for me, I want to see a big multi-woman ladder match. I don't want to see a battle royal. I hate when they're decided by battle royals because it's so much luck of the draw and things like that. I would love to see this decided in a big ladder match. I'd make it about 6 different competitors, have them all compete in this ladder match for the first one. And I'll just come out and say it, after watching Money in the Bank, I don't think there's a better choice than Chelsea Green. She should win this thing. It would be so awesome to see her climb the ladder, get the belt. She could talk about how much she's overcome, her fears, and she did that through the Money in the Bank ladder match. And she just came out the other night on SmackDown and started trying to create nicknames like Mother of Mayhem and Princess of Pain. I want to see that story continue, and I think it would be awesome to see that continue through a ladder match to crown the first Women's United States Championship, and for that to be Chelsea Green. I just want to see her walking around talking about being the champion of all of America, even though she's Canadian. I just need this. I need it in my life. WWE, please make it happen. Give that belt to Chelsea Green. Even if you're not planning on creating that championship at this point and all these rumors are nothing more than rumors, can you just create it for Chelsea Green? That would be much appreciated. Thank you. Obviously, outside of Chelsea Green, there's a lot of other options for that would be really, really good champions, and I would like to see them kind of get their hands on it eventually. Those names specifically, Blair Davenport. Would also love to see Tegan Nox get a run. I think that the WWE is kind of missing with Tegan Nox. Like, she's really, really good, and they just haven't found anything to do with her yet. Maybe this is the answer to that. You could also, like I said, bring up somebody like a JC Jane or a Lash Legend, put them in there, let them be a surprise winner of that championship at some point. Tell me what you think. Do you think we need these championships? Who would you book as the first champions, and how would you book it? That is it for today in this episode of Let's Talk About It. Thanks once again for hanging out with me a little bit on Rumble Rewind. Before you go, don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload. Again, it's so appreciated. It's a great way to help the channel grow and support us here as we continue making content like this for wrestling fans just like you and me. Thanks once again for hanging out with me a bit today. We'll see you on the next one.